All right. Welcome back to GameChanger here. And today we're going to jump right into it. We're going to do a tutorial on how to do a back taper that has multiple growth patterns and how to do a high taper on the sides. His hair is pretty much cut down, so we're just going to run through it. I felt like this would be a great tutorial because a lot of people have multiple growth patterns in the back. It grows to the side, it grows down, and that could be something difficult to overcome, especially when you have a weekly client, because short hair sometimes can be hard to cut. All right, so basically we start off like normal. We do two sections, the primary and the secondary section. Primary section is the light section. Secondary section is the dark section. As you can see, his hair grows to the side. It grows to the right, but it also grows up on the left side. And that can be a difficult process. It can be easy to gap that or not make the fade as smooth as possible. So the way you work that is by first patience, and then we manipulate the clipper and we cut at an angle. Also, it's very important to have great wrist control and a great motion. If you have a very smooth motion with the wrist, it'll elevate your game 10 times. All right, so as you can see, the first thing you want to do is you can look at my left hand. I'm stretching the skin down. I want to make my workspace tight. When you have a tight workspace, it's easier to manipulate the hair. You see that hair grows to the side, but I'm still fading up, but I'm also kind of coming at an angle at times. But if you stretch the skin and use a comb, don't brush, because when you're dealing with hair that grows at multiple angles or a side angle, you want to keep it as gapped as possible. When you brush the hair, you clump it. Now I'm stretching the hair up. No matter which way I'm stretching, I'm extending my workspace, and I'm using the tip of the blade. You don't really want to lay those clippers flat when you're doing something like this. The reason is when you use the tip of the blade, you have more control on what area you're fading. You can be more precise, and when you have multiple growth patterns, the more precise, the better. And again, use that comb. It takes patience. Like there is not just one way to do this, but the one thing we all should agree on is that it takes patience. Mark has thick hair. So thick hair or dense hair along with multiple growth patterns can be a disaster or can be very tedious. But if you go in with a formula, with a plan, and you utilize these small tips that I'm passing on to you, it should make it much easier. Second step, so usually when you're doing multiple growth pattern fades, the hardest part is that primary line. Everything else is kind of pretty much typical and normal for the most part. I used the 1.5 that you saw, just the white guard, to debulk. After I debulk with the 1 now. Same thing, his hair is still growing in multiple patterns. Now I still stretch the skin. I take my time, I take longer strokes. And when I say longer strokes, so when you're fading, you can do the real short, choppy strokes, or you can do longer strokes. When you do longer strokes, when you stretch the skin, you actually can focus and pinpoint on certain areas. See right here, I'm debulking with the grain. See, when you cut hair, it's all about the mastery of your tools, learning when to use what tools, how to use what tools, how to use what guards, when to use a comb, when to use a brush. All right. The general rule of thumb, when you're using the comb, you want to comb between every 2 and 3 strokes. Very important. Sometimes step back from your workspace to study. All right. So you guys watch. I'm just pretty much debulking right now. See, I'm combing between strokes because, like I said, I know I have multiple growth patterns. Things can switch up at any time. So I want to watch as I work. It's very important to keep the workspace neat and clean. See, slower, longer strokes right there. All right. All right, so now I bring out my masters. This is where you combine 2 sections. And again, you have to watch these multiple growth patterns. See, I actually fade at an angle to blend to. See, I stretch and I just tilt about a 45-degree angle, and I work against the hair directly. All right, anytime you want to get a precise fade, you typically fade against the hair. If the hair grows at about a 45-degree angle or 180-degree angle, I kind of tilt my clipper to go that way. To get a precise fade, it's all about hair manipulation as well. How can you manipulate the hair? When the hair grows a certain way, how can I format this hair or make this hair work with me to get the desired look? Same thing, I'm using my comb. I'm stretching. I'm not choking or I'm pulling his neck down. I'm typically taking my thumb or taking my palm and I'm stretching the hair, because when I have to work in tight spaces, Again, I need to extend the workspace. The reason why I repeat myself is because it's very important. And again, my strokes aren't too fast in these sections. Again, I see right there, boom, I'm using the corner. Utilize the whole blade, utilize the whole clipper. It's not just one piece. You have the center, you have the right corner, left corner, you have the top of the blade, and you have the back of the blade. When you learn these sections of the clipper, you can utilize them. See, right now, I'm using the tip of the blade, but I'm using the reverse side. It's all about manipulation, all right? So you guys watch me, I'm blending together. Then I'll be back when it's time to knock out some of these darker spots with my one guard on my magic clip. So I'm hitting my spots. I'm gonna just stay right here. I'm not even gonna leave. See, just watch the technique and the patience. It's all about patience. Again, this can be a difficult situation, but if you take your time, wrist movement, you don't want to have stiff wrists. It's very important when you're a barber to have very smooth wrists. Out of a lot of the young barbers that I see, I think that's the biggest issue, especially when you're getting started, is the stiffness in your wrist. When you learn to make that, when you have a nice smooth rotation, like a C-type motion with your wrist, you can flick and pull. That'll help your skill as well. See, right now I'm just hitting darker spots. I have my one guard on, and I'm just working, hitting my spots. Then I'll take off. See, now I'm spot checking. At 1 minute I got the one guard on, then I take the guard off. Now I'm spot checking certain areas. It's not one certain technique for the whole cut. It takes different techniques, different motions for different part of the cut. All right, so I'll see you guys in a second. All right, so that was literally a second. Now, high taper. I call it a high taper, but really it's just a taper. I'm not going super high without the curves. I stretch the skin with my left thumb, now my right thumb, extending the workspace. Now I create my primary line. I'm keeping the mask on right now. The key to this fade is how you do your framework. Just because I'm taking away the curves, I still want to keep it low. My primary line never extends past the ear, because now that fade will extend past the ear, and I don't want that, right? I want to keep it within range, within perspective. This part of the fade can make the whole cut. I've seen some high tapers, whether it be because the barber took his primary and secondary line too. I see even my secondary line is low. I can get a nice blended look with low primary and secondary lines. That sets the framework for your fade. Once I keep those lines low, now I take my time, right? So this primary line here, I'm not taking it away, I'm blending it in. You see how it blends in? When you take the primary line away, now you have to create more space, because it went from a primary line to a bar space. Remember, fade it in, do not take it away. Now, whenever I'm doing a taper on the side of the head, right, my workspace is usually smaller. So what I do is now debulk. It's very key to debulk on the sides. Now watch how I debulk. At certain points, it may look like I'm going. It might look like I'm going far back there, but see, I apply more pressure at the front of the secondary line than when I extend farther back. Right, that blade starts to lift, and I see the more pressure you apply on the clipper, the more hair comes off. Right. So the less pressure you apply, the less hair comes off. Same thing, I still stretch the skin to extend my workspace, because I have a very small space to work with. So I stretch, and I stay within range, right? I work the area that I chose or I decided to work in. Now, again, and my comb is very key. Combing is very key to the process. And I follow the same guideline or blueprints I do in the back. It's very, very simple. You guys go ahead and watch me put this into work, and I'll be back in a second. Trying to make sure there's nothing I'm missing. Yeah, same thing. You stretch the skin to extend the workspace, do your primary and secondary lines low, and take your time. He has very smooth hair, very dense hair. So I stretch and I work, take my time. Longer strokes might be beneficial sometimes versus a shorter, quicker stroke. All right, you guys watch, I'll be back. All right, let me show you something. Watch this. Watch what I'm about to do. Real quick, right? Think now. I should be doing. Watch this. Boom. But I step back from my workspace. Sometimes you have to step back because a trick. I'm gonna tell you a trick. You can see thicker patches of hair. You can see thicker patches in the haircut when you step back. Sometimes when you're so close, your eyes adjust to the depth. It's like depth perception. So when I step back, I can see those bulkier spots and I see what I have to hit. So it's just little key tips like that will elevate your game so much, so much. All right. So now that I have that fade primarily in, now I want to hit those bulky areas. I have my one guard on my masters. And I'm just not hitting. Now I'm using the back of the clipper. Remember we talked about using the tip of the blade? Now I'm using the back of the blade. I can carry that weight off more. So now I'm cutting thicker chunks. I apply more pressure, probably a shorter stroke. I'm not hitting. I see what I want to hit, and I go directly and I pinpoint the area and I hit it. I was just watching right there just to make sure everything was good, make sure I'm hitting the right area and zones. So now it's time for the back to edge up. This can always be tricky for some barbers because I think a lot of barbers are going to take that back edge up really far in so that it can be nice and sharp, and really just follow the guideline. You find where the hair grows thickest at the furthest point out and you clean it up there. Same thing around the ear. You do not have to go high around the ear. Use the tip of your blade. Make sure your edges are nice and sharp. Adjust it. I got a video on how to set your trimmers. Once you set them, go check that video out. And then you just take your time. Apply less pressure. Sometimes you can, when you're using your edges, is weird. If you have a light hand, not only do you minimize the risk of burning the client, you actually can get more hair off. It doesn't take much pressure because these edges don't have that much horsepower. So when you apply more pressure, you're actually slowing the blade down. My personal opinion. All right, so now I'm still stretching away, extending my workspace, tightening the skin really. We want to tighten that skin so you can get a nice edge up. And I follow the guideline. Simple. All right, so you guys watching, it's time for the fun stuff. Time to do the edge up. Right now I'm cleaning up. Always clean the neck hair. Whenever you clean that neck hair like this area right here, it makes your haircut look nice and clean. Very, very clean. Look, I'm using the corner. Boom, corner. Hit the curve. Boom, staying tight. Boom, hit the corner. I'm making all kinds of sound effects. And I'll be back in a second. Okay, so now it's time for my secrets on the edge up. So what I do is I apply I'm very generous with the gel. You can see it's like a lot of gel. The reason why, for one, the gel is weighted. When you apply a lot of gel, it lays the hair down, especially with clients with curlier hair, wavier hair. The more gel you apply, the more the hair lays down and it won't run. See, now as you see, boom, I'm stretching from the top and the bottom. So that way I keep the line even. My eyes won't be misconstrued about pulling up or pulling down. I stretch both ways. And I use the tip of the blade. I watch the corners. I watch this natural edge up. I don't want to push it back. I think this new young age of barbers think that to make the edge up sharp, I got to push the edge up back. When you don't, follow the edge up. It grows back better. It looks better. It's just showing your skill and your craftsmanship. Same thing on the curves. Now I stretch away from where I'm edging, right? Because I'm creating that tightness so that way the blade won't have much work to do. All right, see, I'm hitting the little hairs. I use the comb. I still want to comb on the edge up. You want to know why? Because I'm laying there. I'm pulling those longer hairs out that want to curl. Then I go back with my edges and I clean up, right? Simple. I'm going to show you guys on the other side. Now I comb down and you guys check it out. On the other side, I won't talk. I'll let you guys enjoy it. After I use the edger, I come back with the blade just to clean up. So you guys check it out. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please stick around for the finished product. I think you're really going to enjoy it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Game Changers episode 3, a Game Changing Conversation Cut episode 3 coming out. You guys check it out. If you haven't seen episode 2, please check it out. I love the new series I dropped. I appreciate you guys. Hope you love the video. I know I was talking a lot, but I wanted to teach a lot too. See you soon. Peace, love. Y'all stay safe out there. Subscribe.